Excited to talk to you more about what is going on in the Tampa Bay real estate market. Andrew Duncan with the Duncan Duo team, LPT Realty. We are growing and we are hiring. If you're a real estate agent that has struggled, if you're not hitting the sales numbers that you want, if you need more coaching and accountability, please go to jointheduo.com. Again, that is jointheduo.com. You can register for our career night. You can apply for any one of our open positions, and you can schedule a confidential consultation through our Calendly link. The details about what it is that we look for when we're adding someone to our team. So if you are thinking about real estate, if you are in real estate, not hitting the numbers you want to hit, again, that is jointheduo.com. I'm sporting my Lightning hat today. Opening hockey week this week. Lots of cool stuff with the Lightning. Excited to be back for my 10th year. I think it's 10th, maybe even 11th year of partnership with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Going to a lot of games, and we'll have the details on our appreciation event coming soon, and we'll do some cool giveaways. So make sure you're following us on all of our socials at The Duncan Duo, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook. I talked last week with Melissa Rodriguez, our preferred mortgage lender at Citywide Home Mortgage. And I want to kind of reiterate a few things that I spoke with her about last week. And first one is the government shutdown. There's a lot of confusion about the government shutdown in terms of how it impacts real estate. And right now, the impact has been relatively minimal. You know, we're a little over a week, about a week and a half into the shutdown. The reality is that the impact has been minimal because VA and FHA loans haven't been disrupted. They have enough funding for now. There's still enough people working. We have not seen problems with VA and FHA home loan closings. Where we have seen problems is with flood insurance. Flood insurance is FEMA. And FEMA is a government entity. All intents and purposes, the biggest obstacle to getting a closing right now with the government shutdown is flood insurance if it's required or being purchased in the transaction. And of course, if it's a FEMA flood insurance product. There are private carrier flood insurance options, not a lot of them, but there are some. So nonetheless, the impact so far has been relatively minimal. Now, the longer it stretches, the more we start to see impact. The other place that we see impact is from consumers that are furloughed or laid off, while the government is shut down because of the impact of it. So if they're a government employee, a defense contractor, they work for the Fed, something involved with the federal government, those people, if they're a buyer that's buying your home or if they're out there looking, they're obviously on the sidelines for right now. So far, it's not had an enormous impact on real estate. In years past, it had a bigger impact. Only thing I can say is maybe this administration got a little ahead of it. Maybe they're just better prepared, or maybe they have more people that are willing to work for free right now. My understanding is all of them get caught up and they do end up getting back pay if they work while the shutdown is here. But there are some disruptions. Now, where there can be some obstacles with FHA and VA would be things like if you're buying a traditional home right now, we've had FHA and VA closings go fine. Where we could see obstacles would be if you're trying to get a new condo community approved or an FHA spot approval or some sort of extra thing that's above and beyond a normal kind of FHA, purchase product. Some of those things can start to cause an impact, but so far it has not been a major impact. We also spoke to Melissa last week. Speaking of FHA and VA mortgages, I want to remind everyone out there and have them prepare for this. Just write down citywidetampa.com. Okay, they're our preferred lender. Melissa is awesome. The best loan officer that I've dealt with in 20 years in this business. That's saying a lot. A few $1 billion in real estate sales, and she is amazing. She answers her phone 365, 24/7. She's phenomenal at service. Her loans close. She navigates through problems. She's got all kinds of, every program available. Very, very, very knowledgeable. Again, citywidetampa.com. And the reason why I want you to write it down is if you have an FHA or a VA mortgage right now, I want you to be prepared for how you can save some money at the end of the year. So again, if you have an FHA or a VA mortgage right now, there is a reasonably good chance that you could refinance into a lower rate by the end of the year and do what's called a Streamline. Okay, it's called something slightly different with VA, but it's Streamline refinance that lowers your interest rate, doesn't cost you any money. And typically, if you play it right and time it right, and Melissa can help you with this, you can miss a payment. You can skip a payment. It's not as if you're still paying the money, but it kind of gets lumped into the mortgage. So you kind of have a period of time where you do the refinance and you have a short period of time where you'd normally have a mortgage payment and you don't have one until the following month if you time it right. So The reason why I want you to pay attention in the next couple of months, if you have an FHA or VA mortgage, and specifically if you have an FHA or VA mortgage in the high sixes into the sevens, okay, you're going to be able to refinance, very likely be able to refinance into a lower interest rate and considerably lower your payment. And the reason why it's impactful for a lot of people, especially this time of year, is look, we know the holidays are coming. We know a lot of people are strapped. We know it's been a tough year. We know there's people struggling financially. We know people are worried. Are they going to have enough money presents for the kids or for the trip that they want to take? So you can strategically line your refinance up with an FHA or VA, Streamline, and lower your payment. I want you to understand that it is very much almost like a rubber stamp refinance. It's not going to reappraise the property. So if you're someone that has an FHA or VA loan and you don't think you have equity anymore, it doesn't matter. If you're someone that's worried about your credit or you missed some payments, same thing. They've already approved your loan. The way the VA and FHA look at it, you already have a loan with them. They're already loaning you money, right? They're already going to keep loaning you money. They're already guaranteeing your loan. If you've missed some payments and your credit isn't as good, it still is going to impact your ability whether or not you're going to pay them their money. So they're willing to lower your rate for you, okay, to make it easier on you, to lower your payment. And also potentially, like I said, if you time it right, you could skip having an actual mortgage payment and kind of navigate that around the holidays. Now, the reason why that makes sense this year more than other years is because that lines up with the Fed rate cuts. Now, what we know about the Fed rate cuts is they're predicting 2 or 3 more Fed rate cuts. Now, there's a lot of rumors out there, and the next meeting isn't until the end of October to determine it. But if there's 2 or 3 more Fed rate cuts, interest rates will soften a little bit more. So by the end of the year, around the holidays, it should line up very nicely at, like, potentially. Again, there's always, with the economy, the government, mortgages, the Fed, there's always curveballs and there's always things you can't predict. So none of this can be guaranteed, but I want you to be aware of it if you have an FHA or VA mortgage and your rate is high sixes into the sevens, mid to high sixes into the sevens, and maybe you're not in an equity position. You could be able to refinance and lower your payment at the end of the year, even if your credit's gotten worse, even if your home won't appraise, even if you don't have equity, even if you've got some income issues, you could potentially qualify to do that at the end of the year. And a lot of people, if they time it right, you'll get the benefit of some Fed rate cuts, or even if you time it a little bit ahead of that. So if we get a Fed rate cut in October, another one in November, and there's a chance for another one in December, market moves in the direction of the prediction for the Fed. So let's just say, for example, we expect a Fed rate cut at the end of October, mid-October or a week out, mortgages start relaxing the rates towards the direction of the strong likelihood the Fed's going to cut rates. The Fed rate cut itself usually doesn't have a massive impact on mortgage rates. It's tied to treasuries, but it does indirectly affect, and mortgages move in the direction of the likelihood of that happening. So nonetheless, there's a really good chance of lower mortgage rates at the end of the year, and VA and FHA loans have this unique ability to do a streamlined refinance that doesn't go through a typical refinance like other products. Other products, you got to go through appraisal, you got to qualify, they got to look at because it's basically another lender or another investor that's going to end up taking over your new loan. Well, with VA and FHA, because they're backing loan, it's the same. It's them again. There's just much less hoops to jump through. It's much less complicated, and it can be an instantaneous drop in your payment. And of course, like I mentioned before, if timed right, a month where you don't actually have a mortgage payment, which could be huge relief for people this holiday season. And so how you do that, you go to citywidetampa.com. You can contact Melissa direct. You're interested in doing a streamlined refinance. Even if you're not going to do it till the end of the year, reach out now so that she can get everything ready and have it all prepared so that it can be done ahead of time. The sooner you do that process and get that done, the quicker that the process can happen when it comes time for you to pull the trigger. You can go to citywidetampa.com. You can apply directly on there. You can contact Melissa with any questions. Her contact information is on there, as well as the application link directly. And I sympathize with people because we are approaching the holidays. I know the economy's been rough for people. Even though the stock market's high, that's obviously helping a lot of wealthy people get more wealthy. There's a lot of everyday people out there right now struggling, and they don't know about this ability to considerably lower their payment with no out-of-pocket cost and a very, very, very simple process to lower that interest rate compared to the normal process of doing a refinance. So again, citywidetampa.com to do that.